Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for another update on Kadena. So, let's do a quick KDA update pre-FOMC meeting. The next FOMC decision is less than 5 hours away as of the time of recording this, and I'm seeing this pattern develop in both Bitcoin and Kadena that I want to talk about today. Now, in terms of the higher time frames, if you've been watching the channel, if you've been keeping up to date, not too much to update over on the weekly. You can still see we are trading and getting rejected underneath or literally at the bottom of the bull market support bands. If we clear up the bull market support bands, you can see obviously we've still been rejected from the EMA ribbons on the weekly that we talked about for the past couple of months or so. We're still trading down. Weekly time frame, we do have a lot of doji candles signaling indecision right now. We're going to talk about this pattern in the lower time frames in a second, but we also do have a weekly red formation. Weekly Fibonacci candles are still bleeding red to the downside. So in terms of this bleed out that's happening in the lower time frames, really not too much to update. Of course, you know my higher time frame price targets. I'll talk about them once again at the end of the video, but let's talk about what's new in the lower time frames. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, if we just get rid of this pole for a second, you can see that Kadena is forming this 4-hour rising wedge, which has a more strong likelihood of breaking to the downside. And as you can see, we have broken to the downside. We pumped back up and retested this as resistance before breaking back down. Now, we are currently trading right in the 4-hourly EMA ribbons. They are getting tighter and tighter and tighter while we are trading in the midst of these. So it is looking like a big move is soon to come for KDA. Now, while KDA is forming this rising wedge, you can also see if we zoom out a little bit more, this is also a bearish pennant or a bear flag, depending on how you want to draw it. More likely to be a bear flag as we never reach the apex of this, making it into a triangle. But if we do look at where the price target of this is, you can potentially see that Kadena could be coming down to 63 cents if we do continue getting continuation from this. It's about another 38.5% move from where we are right now. And we are also seeing this pattern develop in the Bitcoin market. The only difference is that Bitcoin broke into the upside of this and then formed a rising wedge and has started to break to the downside. Now, the 4-hour rising wedge on Bitcoin is a tiny bit ambiguous. You can draw it like this if you really want to. There is obviously still an argument to be made that Bitcoin could be in this rising wedge as we are still kind of preparing for the incoming volatility of the FOMC meeting. So I wouldn't count that Bitcoin can't push up a little bit further and have a fake out before the FOMC meeting, which may allow Kadena to push back to the upside and retest round about 105, 110 before breaking back down. But whether this happens or whether we start rolling down to the price target we just talked about, Kadena is not looking too strong right now. And of course, as we've had Bitcoin break to the upside into this bearish pattern, the rising wedge, and as we've had Kadena break to the downside into this bearish pattern of the rising wedge, we now come over to KDA BTC, and you can see that Kadena priced against Bitcoin has just made new bear market lows. I've been constantly warning about the dangers of holding altcoins throughout the entire cycle. I've been religiously warning on my YouTube, do not DCA altcoins in a bear market. If you're going to DCA anything for the long term, let it be Bitcoin. I've said for absolutely ages now, don't DCA altcoins while you're in a bear market. Bitcoin will annihilate you. The US dollar will annihilate you. It's much better to buy at the start of the pivot, or it's much better to buy when you think the bottom is, rather than just DCAing every single dip, because over time you will get annihilated by these markets. You can see Kadena's BTC pair has broken down into new bear market lows this week. In fact, we are on the daily time frame forming a red formation ahead of the volatility of the next FOMC meeting, which once again is less than 5 hours away. So Kadena's BTC pair may be a leading indicator predicting that KDA USD is soon to break down to new bear market lows. Before we talk about those price targets, Kadena's Bitcoin pair is only about 3% away from hitting this 1.236 Fibonacci, and I believe a lot more volatility is soon to come in for the FOMC meeting. A lot of people were hoping this FOMC that the Fed is going to pivot, so I think today we're going to get another 25 basis point increase. They're going to pull out old reliable. The markets are going to be like, okay, we were hoping for a pivot. This is not what we wanted. I do think the markets are not going to be too happy with this news, and they are going to start breaking to the downside, and because of this, I do believe KDA BTC will break down a further 11%, coming down to this 2 extension, at which point it may see a slight bounce. Will I be counting on it? Not really. I personally think, in the higher time frames, that we are probably going to move down about another 41.3% against Kadena's Bitcoin valuation. Once again, I will warn you, for maybe the 100th time on this channel, be very, very careful if you are DCAing altcoins in a bear market. A bear market, historically, Bitcoin always outperforms the majority of altcoins. If you are DCAing altcoins, a lot of people will say, hey, when Kadena hits, $100 next cycle or something, I'm going to be laughing. But the point is, you're going to be waiting for a 10x, 20x return just to break even. Whereas it's much better to buy at the start of the pivot, and then, you're much better positioned than people who have just been DCAing every single dip and watching their portfolio slowly bleed out. Because if you have been DCAing alts the whole bear market, you're going to have to wait for a massive, massive rally just to break even. And then, of course, once you see that pullback where, smart money is going to be buying, you're once again going to be in the negative. So I just really want to warn you, really want to hammer this in. Be very careful if you're buying altcoins in this bear market. I'm not saying never buy altcoins again. Of course, altcoins outperform Bitcoin in a bull run. A bull run is the time to be positioned into altcoins. In a bear market, you really just want to sit in cash and you want to sit in Bitcoin and wait for the pivot, wait for these financial conditions to pivot, wait for the Fed to signal that we're ready to move down to lower interest rates, things in the macro economy that will get the cryptocurrency markets booming again. Right now is clearly not the time. Altcoins are bleeding against Bitcoin pretty hard right now. Let's move back over onto Kadena against the US dollar before we talk about our price targets. Now, we also talked about in the lower time frames how we're looking pretty shaky coming into this bearish pattern. It looks like the 4-hour EMA ribbons are about to fire bearish right now. If we do come over to the daily time frame, stochastic RSI is currently topping out. The last time this was topping out, price action was at $1.27, and we proceeded to have a pretty nasty move back down to the downside. We're currently at 100 right now. So we're very, very overextended for the stock, and we've got lots of room to move down. The MFI, on the daily time frame, it's not actually too overbought. In fact, it's not overbought whatsoever. It is round about 38, but do bear in mind, because of the FOMC, when a lot of volatility comes into the downside, we can definitely have a move down to, 10. Previously, we found Kadena bottoming at around about 3 for the MFI, so you can imagine that we could still have a lot of room to move to the downside. Over on the squeeze momentum indicator, we have reset momentum. Typically, these resets of momentum correlate to tops and rolls over in price action. In fact, when the squeeze momentum rolls over, you can in fact see that most of the time these correlate to, rounding top formations where the price just starts to round down before you have that parabola back down. So be very careful. Daily time frame not looking too hot. Weekly time frame, squeeze momentum indicator has had a bullish cross while we were forming this red, green, red formation. We are currently at sitting at 62. We can have a little bit of a bounce before that next major meltdown back down to the downside. Higher time frame, however, MFI is very overextended. This is why I say we've got a lot of room to move down. MFI is at 57 on the weekly. So much room to move down. We have reset momentum over on the squeeze momentum indicator into green. The last time this happened, we were sitting round about $1.40. The Bittrex pair has lower lows than all other markets. Bear in mind, we literally only spent 1 minute down here. I'm only looking at this chart over here. A lot of people say, hey, Cowboy, do you know that Bittrex pair is wrong or something? We didn't actually go down to 31 cents. I'm very aware. We literally, if we find it, you can see on the 1 hour time frame, we just went boom. And I've looked at this on the 1 minute time frame. There was no volume traded down here. The only reason I use this chart is because I have so many different charts over on TradingView for Kadena. This one, I'm just looking at the volume that's been traded. But yeah, do bear in mind the actual lows for Kadena were around about 79 cents. But when the when the squeeze momentum indicator did reset, you can see that we did break down to 79 cents over on this pair. So not looking good. All in all, my price targets, as we've been discussing, in the immediate short term, of course, we do have this 4-hour bear flag, but if we do come back over to the price targets, you can see we do have volume profiles starting to kick in at 69 cents, round about right here. There's a lot of data traded in this market. This will, of course, take Kadena down to new bear market lows, but at which point it's not too much lower than the previous lows. So I do think this is a conservative first price target to keep your eyes on. About a 34% drop. The bottom of these volume profiles is a 51% drop, and the bear flag price target we talked about is a 39% drop. So In the immediate short term, really what I've got my eyes on is this bear flag / rising wedge. If you just want to look at the price target of the rising wedge, I will give it to you now. It's not as bad. If we do look at this breakdown, this is about a 92-cent price target. So there's a couple of price targets for you to keep your eyes on ahead of the FOMC meeting. Be very, very careful trading these markets. Once again, I do think we're going to have 25 basis points. Anything higher than 25 basis points and you can kiss this bear flag price target goodbye. We are going to go much, much lower. But nonetheless, I think 25 basis points, if we get that, potentially expect a little bit of volatility coming in. Like I said over on my most recent video, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a little bit of a fake up into the FOMC, rally into it, and then nuke a couple of hours after we do have that news. That is typically normally what we do. So for today, my friends, that's all I've got. You know my price targets. Kadena is coming down to 63 cents. This is the bear flag price target. And of course, higher time frames, I do still think the largest book depth is round about 30 cents. Well, I don't think, I know the book depth is round about 30 cents. This is where I see Kadena coming down to in the bear market. But in the immediate short term, 63 cents. I'll see you there. For today, my friends, that's all I've got. If you do enjoy my content, as always, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends. If you want to further support the channel, feel free to click the join button and become a member today. Come and follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. Come and join the Discord. The links to Discord, Instagram, my Instagram and merch store are all in the about section of my YouTube. So hope to see you over there. For today, my friends, that's all I've got. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.